Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long Boy Blues, 1975. A YouTuber on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends used to bug him. Long Boys Blues, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Long Boys Post 1975, and welcome to the Wednesday vlog. Particularly, once again, like I did a week or so ago, a kind of nostalgic waffle, if you will. You've read the title. It's I Love the PlayStation 2 and Nostalgic Memories. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is I got a message the other day on Facebook that said, why don't you try another one of these? I really enjoyed this, but why don't you try like a more modern system? Because is it just me? And this is a good point, I agree with this. I'll talk a little bit about it. Is it just me? That's what they said, sorry. Is it just me, or do people somehow take more modern systems and they don't seem to consider them retro? Because, you know, they're more powerful than other systems that we do consider retro, but if you break down into the period of time it's been since they were, you know, mainstay in the game, you know, industry, they are clearly, by the age compared to that, I hope this makes sense, to other systems that are more basic, retro. Now that's very interesting. So I want to talk about the PlayStation 2 because this is a machine I have a massive amount of nostalgia for, and it seems to me because it was so phenomenally popular, so phenomenally successful, and you go everywhere and there's second-hand games for it. And while there are hard to get and rare games for it, if you compare it to the GameCube and the original Xbox, and obviously the Dreamcast, then it's, I don't know, it seems to be more readily available simply because of the volume it's sold, and yeah, there's less hard to get really expensive games. So for some reason I think it kind of, there's a stigma attached to it that means you take it, well, not stigma as such, but we take the PlayStation 2 far more for granted than we do the other systems because it didn't sell as, they didn't sell as well as it. Now, about considering it retro, it's weird, and if I stop to think about it, it is a retro system. It's what, 17, almost 18 years old, you know, so let's basically go with it. It's 2 decades old, yet for some reason, mainly because you could call it a mainstay in creating essentially what we consider now, at least, the modern industry standard console. It was the first one, you know, that big, well, it wasn't the first one because of the Dreamcast, but it was that one that got everything right in that massive leap between, you know, systems like the Saturn and the PlayStation 2 with a very crude 3D to what was then unbelievable, like absolutely fantastic. So, you know, and the DVD player and stuff like that. So yeah, I am one of those people that doesn't really somehow, you know, knowing that it's almost 2 decades old, consider it retro. But if we break it down into a machine that is definitely retro, obviously the ZX Spectrum that was released in 1982. When we got to the year 2000, so, you know, saying it's the same age as the PlayStation 2 is now, I definitely considered it retro. And was it simply because it had creaky, you know, primitive graphics and very primitive sounded, an archaic system for inputting, you know, games and stuff like that? Maybe it was, but if we look at the PlayStation 2, just because it bears more resemblance to consoles these days than, you know, like the Spectrum did, you know, 20 years later, does that mean it's not retro? No, it's a weird one. But I want to talk about the PlayStation 2 because I had a PlayStation 1. My brother just got the Dreamcast. Everyone was shitting their pants and wowing over the Dreamcast. Little did we know. And then obviously the PlayStation 2 was announced. And, you know, they would go on things about the Emotion engine and stuff like that. It's going to come with a DVD. As standard, you know, it's gonna blow everything out of the water. Yeah, it's, well, I mean, obviously you get the Saturn online, but it's gonna have, you know, internet capabilities and stuff like that, which granted was quite limited for it and way down the line. It was gonna be fucking huge. But yeah, it was, so I don't know. I being a massive PlayStation fan, I wasn't really sold. I think, as what was it, £299? I wasn't really sold, and I kept doing, I do that a lot, which is saying, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. No. I don't want it. And then when the opportunity is there, and even more so, which I'll get to, its chance of getting it is greatly reduced and you just happen to be in the right moment at the right time, my willpower goes to shit. And that's how I ended up with my PlayStation 2. So it's funny because my flatmate at the time, a guy was like, do you want to go halves on one? I went, nah, not really. Bearing in mind, I said no to going on halves on one because he got butthurt about this later on. And if you're watching this, mate, I stand by it. You never said, you said go halves on one. But anyway, do you want to go halves on one? I went, no. I think mainly because, we were flatmates, which wouldn't necessarily be an arrangement that would last forever. So what happens? It becomes like a fucking child or something, doesn't it? Who gets custody of the PlayStation 2. I kept, justifying to myself, which is, it's too expensive. I'm happy with my my PlayStation. I've still got a PC at this point because obviously it's the year 2000 and my PC was pretty good. So I'm like, I'm all right. I really didn't want it. And then, and this was when they announced the pre-orders, wasn't it? And you could put down as little as a tenner, but the pre-orders went out everywhere. So again, I was like, because I couldn't get one, not happy, not worried about it, happy to not have one. And then I went to a place called the Big W. Who remembers that? It was Peacocks and Woolworths combined chain. It was like clothing and, games, videos and electrical stuff. See what they did there? Because Peacocks is clothing and Woolworths is, I only just got that. Oh my God. We were in there just for something purely different. We used to go there once a week because you had to go down the M32 and it was outside of Bristol. It's by the, it's not there anymore obviously because it's Woolworths, by the Ministry of Defence base, which means nothing to anyone who doesn't live in Bristol. I wonder if that meant their shoplifting was quite low, being right next to the Ministry of Defence. Anyway, so and I walked in and they had a flip chart with a number on it. I think it said 75 cross down, 68 cross down, various numbers trickling down to 25 PlayStation 2s left for pre-order. And you had to go and pay the deposit there and then, little as a tenner, but that would guarantee you it. This was quite good. They did this really on the money because lots of other people you read in the news fuck this pre-order shit up. And you filled in this form and that, and then put it in an envelope and gave it to him. So I did that, and my mate goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm pre-ordering a PlayStation." And he goes, "Wait, what? You said you didn't want one?" No, I said I didn't want to go halves. And I go, and I really didn't want one, but I don't know, the numbers, maybe there were more. Maybe it was just a marketing gimmick. But the numbers going down, being crossed out, just made that child of me just go, "Oh, I gotta have it. It's like crack." And so he got really, really upset about it. And I'm thinking, but you get to play it for free, and you don't even have to put anything down on it. But as I said, you didn't say you didn't want one. You said you want to go halves. So there you go. Anyway, now the next process of this was the waiting and the waiting and the waiting and the waiting. And I actually got one on pre-order because, as we know now, it was an absolute fuck up. They just didn't have enough prepared. Some of the ones that were prepared were cheap and nasty because they made them in all kinds of different factories all over the shop. It's funny now because people say Sony is a byword for quality and bulletproof, but they were making them then in loads of different factories, weren't they? So there was no sort of standard of quality control across all these factories, as is my understanding. Anyway, waited and waited and waited, and then you got, do you remember this? Maybe it was just United Kingdom thing. You got sent that, I wish I had it because they go for decent money now, that big thick brochure. It wasn't hardback, but it was a big thick brochure like that, listing all the games, going on about the Emotion Engine, showing off Metal Gear Solid 2, which was the main reason I think my brain finally overpowered the sensible side of it and said, get a PlayStation 2, order it, pre-order it, stuff like that, showing you Ridge Racer 5. And I remember bringing it to work at the time, and my mate who at work who pre-ordered, he brought his in as well, not like to be, hey, look at us, but just at the same time. So at lunch we sat there just going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Gran Turismo 5? No, 3. And it was just like, I was genuinely very, very, very excited because it was the new, this is the massive step. I know the Dreamcast was there, but this has got DVD, and this is even more powerful than the Dreamcast, and it looks better than some PCs. That was then, though, obviously. And then I remember getting a letter one day saying that your PlayStation 2, and this was after watching the news and being paranoid, that your PlayStation 2 was ready for pickup at the Big W. And so I went on a Saturday morning with my 290 quid, which was the rest of it. I must have been decent with money then. Well, I wasn't an adult, so I didn't have all adult commitments because I actually had access to £290 in cash. Who knew? Went there, picked it up. The drive there was excruciating. Same thing as your child saying, will it be there? Will it be there? Will it be there? Will it be there? Will it? No, it won't. Paranoia, negativity. And I got there and it was. Then there was a massive drive home, which was even worse. Traffic fucked up, like everything was going against me. Had no money for games. What did I just had the demo disc at the time, but got back to my, my the rented shared house with my flatmate, who forgave me all of this at the time because it was plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. This is weird. It kept overheating, and we couldn't work out why. And he was like an electrician and stuff like that. So he pulled around the back of the console. And do you remember we had the fan with the grill over it, like the mesh grill? It had taken a punch at some point, whether it was shipping to them or them in their warehouse, and it knocked it in and stopped the fan moving. And I thought, fuck, am I taking this back? I've seen the news, you know. I won't get another one till like way months now in the new year or something. So for bollocks, and I said, fuck my warranty, do it. And then Andy took it apart, fixed it. Job's a good one. Couldn't give a toss that I invalidated my warranty. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could have just sold it on to someone at that point saying that we'd fixed that, and he wouldn't care for sheer shortage of numbers of this highly desirable machine. But, you know, played the demo disc, loved the EA hockey game on there, and it was absolutely fantastic. And that was it. That was, you know, I knew this machine was something special. I mean, the inclusion of a DVD player was genius, because it's weird to, when you walk into a especially kids, if you're watching this now, like you walk into a supermarket now and you can buy portable DVD players for 15 quid, seriously. Back then DVD was a big deal because it kicked in at what, 98, 99. I mean, The Matrix was the first must-own DVD that proved that the format was amazing with all bonuses and stuff like that, and the down the rabbit hole function, but it's nothing to do with the PlayStation 2. And I couldn't afford a DVD player, so I went the route of buying, I think it was a 6-speed Panasonic push disc in, not like tray one, for my PC. And what did I use? The card for I can't remember. I had a video capture card, but that was actually for VCD or something, so I could play a disc and record it onto VHS, allegedly. I can't remember. It's years and years ago. So that was, you know, that was a big deal. That was how you afforded PCs then, so DVDs then. So the fact that this had a DVD player, which meant you could have essentially a portable DVD player, in a whole other room of the house, was an act of genius. Obviously, you had to get it down composite. RGB, sorry, because otherwise it was pants, and you used a control pad or bought plug-in DVD control. They were all shit, but it was amazing. And I think the first proper game I got for it was, I mean, he bought me for Christmas Midnight Street Racer, or Midnight Racing Club, which I thought was fantastic. I bought Dead or Alive 2. Little did I know it wasn't as good as the Dreamcast version, but blew me away, absolutely blew me away. I might have been the only person who loved Tekken Tag Tournament, the original Madden, but I was sold. I was in love with this. This was something special, you know. That's why I'm doing this video, you know, nostalgic thoughts on the PlayStation 2, because as I said, for some reason, lots of us don't connect the dots and think of it as a retro system, which it is. As I said again, because of it's so close to what we consider a modern day system now, I guess. But yeah, I had so much fun, such a blast and laugh, and I loved it. And then I remember I used to go to this fair, like tech fair, every first Sunday of the month in like a sports centre. And I did my research online, and they were selling, this was stupid, but you know the manufacturers had to come up a way to cover it. They were selling an FM tuner for your PlayStation 2, so you could get radio on your PlayStation 2 for your TV. Why would you want that? Like a little box with a USB you plugged into the front. It was stupid, but I knew that you needed the disc from it, because if you had the disc from it, you could do a disc swap. You did something, you put the disc in, you did something on the menu, you ejected the disc. I forget what it was. If anyone else remembers this, is the first way to play, because this is pre-chip in it, play, you know, backups, you know, allegedly. Let me know what it was called. But yeah, so I bought it for this. And then I found out that, you know, most of the early games came on CDs, not even, you know, DVDs. So that was brilliant, because the minute this came out, then obviously every market in the country started selling, you know, it was up there with the PlayStation 1, started selling knockoff discs. You know, you go to the market on a Sunday, or a Saturday, I should say, and you drop a tenner on 4 games. They were and then sometimes they ripped them from DVD into disc. So sometimes, you know, you wouldn't have all the necessary sound effects. You'd actually have multi-disc loads on the PlayStation 2 to get around it being DVD. But little things like this made it brilliant, because I may have had that 300 quid knocking around to buy the system, but games, this is when games started getting really, really expensive and fleecing us and stuff like that. But yeah, and once again, you know, you got proper, you know, 60 frames a second versions of games with that little menu at the start. You see, I've always said this, if they did conversions optimized for PAL from day one, going back to the PlayStation 1 even, then piracy probably would have been shot away and released stuff with a, you know, a decent, affordable price. Because it was, why am I paying 40 quid for a game that's not even optimized for for fucking PAL when I can go down the market and buy it in 3 other games for a tenner, and there's a menu at the start that makes it optimized for PAL and it runs in 60 frames a second. Hell, I can even sometimes pick NTSC or PAL. Never mind, but yeah, it was stuff like that that just, you know, it just constantly made this system, because it meant I had a massive, vast library. I mean, the downside to that is the more games you have, the less time you spend on each game, the less games you actually complete, the less you're technically getting out of the system. But then since it's not costing you an arm and a leg, meh, swings and roundabouts. But, you know, and then I remember when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, well, before that, the demo with Zone of the Enders, which I bought. I'm pretty sure everyone did. Bought, couldn't give a fuck about Zone of the Enders. To this day, I don't even know if it's a good game. I played it once before I tried the demo disc, and gave up on it because I just want to play the demo disc that I rinsed and repeated constantly to the point where I could absolutely get everything you could get out of that demo disc. That was one of the highlights to me. Absolute highlight would be, you know, Metal Gear Solid 2. And then I was disappointed that you didn't get to play Snake all the way through. But now I understand that it was a difference and a departure. And, well, what we know that Hideo's good for, you know, storytelling-wise and stuff like that. And then the other next game that, you know, became, even though it was cut down, this gives it away, cut down massively compared to, you know, the, excuse me, the previous game on the PlayStation 2, but that would be Gran Turismo 3, just because it was, look at the graphics on this, you know, this is absolutely phenomenal. I thought they couldn't be bested on the PlayStation 1, and now this, it's fantastic. I mean, it's not just things like that, these great games that we absolutely loved, you know, adored, and the hype was there for. I mean, you could argue with your Forzas and your Gran Turismos now, it's not kind of, because of the leap between the previous stage systems and that, you know, they still, you know, even with Xbox One X and stuff like that, they still won't have that leap compared to they did then, so therefore they don't make them as special an experience as they were then, which then makes the owning the system or your memories of the system such a wonderful, nostalgic, you know, experience. Yeah, so it was just the PlayStation 2. I have such love and nostalgia for it, and it is a retro system. And it's not until I start talking about this and realizing, you know, how long ago it was that I truly color in, you know, all the squares and realize it is, a retro system that I have so much love for. I mean, absolutely so much love for. And then, you know, the fact that it was backward compatible with the original PlayStation itself was an act of genius. So you could keep your original PlayStation games, which I didn't. But never mind. But yeah, that was a genius. And although I did keep Metal Gear Solid 1, because you like, I can speed the loading time up, I can round off the textures. To me, they both did fuck all, and I couldn't really spot a difference. But it was the fact that Sony thought about this system, DVD player, backwards compatibility, you know, stonking graphics, exclusives and stuff like that. It really was something special, something else, something I have so much nostalgia for. And yet, like I said, sometimes I think we overlook it and take it for granted because of the number of games you see for it, you know, cheaping and poundings and stuff like that. And the fact that it did sell, isn't it? Has it outsold the 2600 now? Or it's a very close second? But it is one of the most, you know, the biggest selling systems of all time. A phenomenal success. You could even argue some of the experience that makes it great and nostalgia to it, while pain in the ass then and not for me, was how difficult it was to get your hands on and the fuck up with the pre-orders and stuff like that. I mean, as I said, sucked back in the day, shit like that. But when you get to now and you reminisce about it, it's all part and parcel that makes it this amazing experience, particularly in my case since I got one, so I could say to other people, got my PlayStation 2, oh you bastard, that's not fair, I ordered mine fucking months before you did. Sorry mate, what can I say? Someone up there likes me. So anyway, yeah, just some of my memories and nostalgia towards the PlayStation 2 and the fact that why is it not really considered, you know, a retro system? Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. Is it a retro system? And some of your memories about it. And, you know, as I said, does the fuck up of its pre-launch and stuff like that, or pre-order, you know, add to it or, you know, detract from it? But yeah, as always, you know, let me know. Leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.